Interview and job search strategies that work. In a couple individuals have relatives overseas, and they ask me, "Hey, could you, talk about um, how would somebody get overseas to the states, basically, right?" For instance, they ask they have a student, they know a person who goes to college and wants to work in the states. So I'll tell you how that works. That's a J1 visa is what it is, right? Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So the J1 is like a temporary work visa, basically, right? So how it works is students in, like, say, the junior or senior year of college, they'll apply and come to the states and work, whatever field they're in. For instance, let's say they work as a chef. They're going to culinary school, right, overseas somewhere, and then they come to the states and they work in the same field, maybe for a hotel or a resort, something like that. So here's how it works. It's called. Um, there's a form. So you would go to high college, and you would talk to the. They have an agreement with like a company in the states, and they're like almost like a sponsorship, basically. They're on the Department of State's website. They have a list of all the individuals, or I'm sorry, companies that can basically sponsor an individual come to the states. So it's called a student and exchange visa or visitor information system, right? It's called a SEVIS, is what they call it, basically, right? And the form is called a DS 2019. So typically, how it works is there is a college in whatever country you live in. They have a tie up with like an agency there, a local agency, right? That local agency has, a partnership basically with one of the Department of State qualified or approved sponsors in the state. And that's how it works. So usually the fee for the DS 2019, it's a form to fill out, right? It's about $1,000 roughly, something like that. And what you're after is you're after getting paid. It's almost like a paid internship is actually what it is, really. And so um, you are responsible for paying for the flight, whatever the flight costs. You're responsible for paying the other fees. For instance, there's a fee that you have to pay like a local consulate to actually go there, to do the interview. There is a registration fee for the form or filling it out. Of course, there's a J1 visa fee. And of course, you get your appointment at the U.S. consulate, right? And so, basically, you can expect to pay 5 grand roughly, something like that. Like, just plan on paying $5,000 for your relative to come to the States to work for, 4 to 6 months, basically. There's also a medical that you go through as a student that you have to get prior to coming into the States for this. So what the DS 219 form looks like, basically, it has like your name, country of birth, citizenship, your the primary state of site of authority. That's where you're going. That's who the company is. Like in New York, there's one company, I can't think of top of my head the name, but they're going to be the ones that's going to sponsor you essentially. So the 2019 is going to have that name of um, the sponsorship in the states, wherever they are. So when you get to the states, you can apply for a social security number, basically, right? Social security number, and you need that to pay taxes because even though you're from a foreign country, you come here, you pay taxes. So you have to pay taxes on the income that you earn. Um, so this is kind of an advantage to you, right? Basically. So let's just say you come here to the states and you have a social security number. Well, you can then get a bank and you can get other things. You can get probably start a business if you desire to do that. And just kind of establish yourself in the States, even though you're only here 4 to 6 months, and kind of set it up to where you plan on coming back to work or to visit, let's say, right? So you have some business or some reason that you come back to the States, essentially. Um, a lot of individuals, what they do is get here on a J1 visa, and then they usually end up marrying other individuals here locally, and then they take that J1 and they convert it into a like a green card or a spousal visa, basically. And there's a fee, of course, involved in that. I will say that the one thing that when you get here from another country, and then um, you come here and you're here for 4 to 6 months or whatnot, right? What, how do you get a job here? Or how do you get a job after, right? You go back to your home country and then you want to come back. That's usually how it works. So while you're here, you for a job. Like I talk about in this thing, IT, for instance, let's say you come here to be a chef, whatever, right? And you know that your skill set here is may or may not be what employers are looking for, or may or may not be how to get here, basically. Let's say, for instance, a programmer. Programmer is high in demand, basically, right? A lot of companies like Google, Facebook want to hire people from overseas to come here to work. So if that's what you want to do, that's the field to get into. So, for instance, you come here and you work. Take a weekend. Take 4 or 5 hours and research those jobs, those companies. How can you come back here to the States to work permanently, right? If that's your goal, anyway. So, thank you very much for listening to this podcast, and have a great day.